Yo, ho, ho, this is the Korean Pirate coming at you again with another video. I'm giving my response to the podcast that just happened on Sunday. Not that was a couple days ago. But I really had to sit with it, go back through it again a couple of times to really formulate my thoughts on what I wanted to say. First of all, I wish I did throw up my hat into the ring to actually be on the podcast and actually be there to have the discussion with the others live and really get to network with the other content creators there as well because I would have fanboyed really hard because you know what it is to be able to get into a podcast with Ethan, Captain Capness, and Saint. Together with those three big guns, jeez, that would have been fun. Okay, but other than fanboying right about now, let's get into what I wanted to talk about. The discussion was on the new version of TOA that came out of this patch where they actually implemented two more floors into the middle tower. I will be putting up some of my runs for my team in that one, which would be, as most people would find, I would actually do two runs. I'm going to show Augusta, Morphe, Showkeeper. The next one is going to be Augusta, and Verena, and see exactly how those two teams actually play together and see how they do it two different run times and see where we go from there. So, on over the video. My reaction would be at certain points in the video when we're talking about the theory, where first of all they started to talk about the bosses that we use for the last two floors. We're talking about the Lampion and Myriad, like Crusher, Hakari, Dragon of Dirge, all the bosses in a sense that we all know how, well, bosses and monsters, because like Crusher technically isn't a boss. He's a monster. He's a monster that's on the overworld. These are all mobs that have specific playstyles that can be annoying in the senses that they have movesets that either take time to go through, to dodge, to actually run chase after them, or you have it in a way in a sense, if you're fast enough, you can stop it from happening. And my thing would be is that if you have played the game long enough, you would have met up to them enough to challenge yourself in the overworld with them to see exactly how you stack up against them. Then you also have the hologram. The hologram with the bosses is kind of more of a strain for this. If you have been doing the holograms, then these bosses should be easy for you. Because in the hologram, you have to be able to be on your toes and not get one shot. So if you can come into the theory and say that it itself is a problem, then I say something is not right. But then you see where they're talking about that problem in a sense, but then Saint brings it up, and I'm glad he brought it up. Because I was in a chat and I was saying it's like, but the thing about it is, if you do things fast enough, you can stop them from doing this. Yes, Myriad has its attack where it goes back to the middle and does its plunge. That is something we're accustomed to. But the thing about it is, you have to be able to time that. If you time it properly, you can then use that to your advantage to get your characters ready to then, as soon as it does the last part of that, break it, or at least you know it's going to be done. Walk with some damage, getting your supports in, get your buffs up, you get ready to come right back in again and start taking it off. And then you realize that this is when we start talking about the mechanics. Please understand in the sense is that when he's talking about it, he was talking about, oh, you know the mechanics of the bosses. I am not you. Again, I say, if you have fought against these things enough in the hologram or even in the overworld, you will know these kinds of mechanics that they have. Taking those mechanics out of them and putting them into the theory basically nerfs them. And then in a sense, then the theory just becomes like the same old slot as you always had it before. It was just a faceplant roll across the keyboard and you win. We're looking for something that actually gives us a challenge. Something that actually puts our teams to the test, a boss and a fight that makes it in a sense that you have to know you have to have an idea of how the boss fights. What moves does what? Where is it gonna go? What in the world is gonna come next? And how to avoid getting one shot. So that's that part of it. But what I really also like was the fact is that Captain Cavendish, she came in and said is that exactly that, where you have to pay attention and do things properly. A lot of people don't understand with fallacy of no return, you have to do the same thing. If you look at fallacy of no return when you're fighting him in the theory, in the beginning of that fight, he gives you multiple parrying times. The reason why you have multiple parrying times there is because he gives you enough chance to be able to break his resonance bar to stop him from going into Super Saiyan fallacy mode and to start spraying shit all over the place, which takes up time. He actually gives you the ability and the time to break his bar to stop him from going into that loop. Whether or not if you use it to do that, that is your problem. That is, as most people say, it's a skill issue. So we'll leave it at that. And then you realize Honey Smack comment says that if you're not attacking all the time, you lose DPS at the time. That's sort of true, yes, but the thing about it is there's a reason why dodge counters exist. Dodge counters are there in order to help you with that. As Saint also said, 95% of the roster has an invincible dodge counter. Once you dodge and you hit a counter, you don't take damage from it. And they give you that's in that split second enough time before they can do their multiple attacks. So you can dodge multiple times, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit. Because whether or not if you can do it, that's a different story. And then the next thing is what you're looking at is what would you consider as well the buffs were given a whole different story altogether because they said yes it's shielding the new units and whatnot. But the thing about it is there are only 3 units in the game that can give shield. Only 3. Well, technically, Brand gives a shield. I'll be lying if I say that. Brand gives a shield, Yuno gives a shield, and Augusta has a shield. Some of them have a shield they give to themselves. Augusta has a shield she gives to herself, so put uptime, but that shield buff is always on her. Yuno is the same thing. Brand has a shield that he can put up. You have Jian Shin that can give a shield. You have Tao Chi that can give a shield. You have different resonators that have the mechanics of shields in game. So it's whether or not there's how other characters you have to see whether or not if you can play around that buff and get that extra boost. Granted, it's the first version of the TOA that's coming out with this, with these 2 floats. So we're still not gonna have to try and see where does it go from here and then see exactly where it goes. Because a lot of people said about HP inflation and whatnot. You look at Hikari. I was scared shitless when I saw Hikari in the TOA. I was like, I know this boss has 2 phases. You know how hard it is to go through the 2 phases of Hikari, just fighting her normal, to then come to fight in the TOA. When I realized I broke her bar and I just rushed her. And then I realized she was dead, and then I saw I finished, I was like, what? Then I realized she has little to no HP. The thing about it that keeps her going is her resonance bar. Once you break it, you can just dish out everything you have at her, and she's gone. Dragon of Dirge, you break that bar, that thing is just going to sit there and take it like a bitch. You do it to Lumen as well. Once you break its bar, just break it. You just let them have it. You do not give them the chance to do any attacks if you know you can break the resonance bar fast enough. Because once that resonance bar breaks, their entire moveset changes. They don't do some special moves. Well, Mirrored is the only one that after it recovers from its resonance break, it does the stomp 3 times. You know it's coming, so you know what to do. But the thing about it is, you then have to realize you have to keep your positioning on the field at the same time as something. I'm terrible at field positioning, so sometimes I'm chasing down the Mirrored at the same point. I'm chasing down because I realize sometimes my positioning on field is terrible, as you should be seeing in the video that I have of showing. But if you can work out your positioning properly or have a kind of sense of how the stage is set, you can kind of tell us, okay, Mirrored is now breaking up, it's going to go to the middle. Chase it. You already know it's going to go there. By the time it starts to disappear and go, find yourself there. You know what you have to do. It's a sense of really testing your knowledge, your experience, and your combat mechanics of fighting the bosses. And my final thoughts on this TOA would be is that it's a wonderful TOA to be in. For me, I was struggling. I went down to the wire to clear it because I was playing terrible my Augusta. I would tell people that I play her terribly. I do not play her correctly. But if you time how you play your characters right, especially with the resonance break bar, you realize that the last 2 floors of the TOA are not as bad as you think they are. And you can have some good fun, and then you just have to see what comes up next. And what can I say? I wait to see the next rendition of the TOA and see what the next 2 floors has for us. This is the Caribbean Pirate. You can catch me on twitch.tv. If you like this video, wish for more, you can like and subscribe. This is the Caribbean Pirate, sailing off.
Where my blade leads, triumph follows.
Make this quick. I have experiments underway.
Hopefully, we'll make new findings.